Dashboards are ubiquitous. They are built and employed by nearly every industry, non-profit and service organization to support data-driven decision making. From businesses to sports organizations, the use of dashboards has increased over the years to the point where we can't imagine even holding a single meeting without them. I love dashboards. They hold the power to swing an entire meeting with a client or stakeholder depending on how we go about designing them. In this video, I'll take a slightly different approach. We'll start by looking at 3 real-world examples of dashboards that I really like before getting into the nitty-gritty of it. This online shopping cart analysis shows the frequency of customers removing items from their cart. This dashboard helps to identify potential issues and can lead to strategic price discussions and analysis. This chart that you see here with the grey line in between is called a control chart. This shows that customers could be wondering if it will take too long to get the product, and that's why they're opting for different alternatives. If you want, and I actually encourage it, you can just pause this video and bring out your own analysis from what you understand from this dashboard. What do you like, what you don't like, and so on. Let's see another example. This one is a cracker. This dashboard shows the paths a visitor took in a brick and mortar store based on date, rank, and time in each section. We can quickly see the areas of the store that are visited more frequently, represented by the color here. And the size of the mark, how big it is, how small it is, basically it represents how long the customer spent in that section. Pretty interesting, right? Where customers go in brick and mortar stores and where they spend time, that's important information for improving customer service, associate placement, merchandising, and just general overall marketing efforts. This is a powerful dashboard. And here's another one from the real world. Supply chain management is a key aspect of any retail or product business. The majority of the big companies relying on supply chain for their existence have restructured their overall strategies to become more data-driven. In this particular dashboard, users can filter factory performance by country, which allows them to potentially fulfill orders from more efficient and less costly factories. Think about it, that's very, very important for any business. Merchants and supply chain executives, they can jointly examine costs by product styles and reduce or change styles based on those costs as well. What I'll do is, after this video, I've provided a full retail dashboard report which includes these dashboards along with 7 others. Please go through them to further understand the true power of dashboards in today's world. And all of these examples actually bring us to the core of the topic. What exactly are dashboards? How do we define them? Just think about it. What's your definition of dashboards? I'm sure you've come across them in your professional career, or at least know enough to have formed a definition in your mind. Pause the video and think on it for a moment. Here is how I would define a dashboard. Basically, a visual interface that provides multiple views of key performance indicators or KPIs for a business or a process. Feel free to modify this and build on this based on your ideas and share your definition in the discussion forum. Now, let's spend a moment understanding the key or the primary elements we need to consider when we are designing dashboards. Remember, not all dashboards are the same. Each has a different purpose. I completely understand the temptation to fill it in with charts and colors and so on, but we need to be a little more prudent and understand what each situation requires, especially when you're dealing with high-profile clients or a high-profile business. The first thing to keep in mind is that we need to know our audience. You must know who will be the immediate audience that will use our dashboard. Let's say you're building a dashboard for CXOs in leadership. Then showcasing a high-level overview of KPIs is usually a good idea, a better idea, instead of granular transactional level information. The second element is the story. Is our dashboard telling a coherent story? Have we structured the visualizations and different components of the dashboards like reports in a way that they sequentially make sense? Presenting our findings in an intuitive way so that the audience gets a complete understanding of what they're seeing is a key ingredient for proper storytelling. We'll cover storytelling in a bit more detail in the next module. And the third element of an impactful dashboard is that it should have a key takeaway for our audience. It's not just about showing facts and awesome charts. The dashboard should have an action attached to it. What do we want the audience to take away from what we're showing them? Is there any action they need to perform? That should be clear in the dashboard. So always keep these three key elements in mind when you're building your dashboard in Tableau. Now remember, this is by no means an exhaustive list. There are other components and elements that you need to keep in mind when you're building impactful dashboards. But for me personally, these three, whenever I'm starting out or when I'm thinking of building a dashboard, these three are the primary things I need to take care of. And now finally, before we get into Tableau and start designing our dashboards, I want to show you 4 use cases of Tableau dashboards in the industry from my own experience. The first is essentially creating interlinked dashboards or reports. We'll see how to do this later in the module as well. Tableau dashboards allow us to drill down deeper into key aspects of a business's operations to optimize sales and increase efficiency. The second use case is for sharing information like key insights, granular data, KPIs, and so on. We can share these with our clients and stakeholders, whether that's internally within the organization or in an external setting. The third use case, and one which you will be very familiar with, I think, is for measuring and monitoring a business's key performance indicators or KPIs. This is one of the most widely used applications when it comes to Tableau dashboards. Here's an example of a KPI measuring dashboard I've taken from Tableau's official public gallery. It's a dashboard showing the different aspects of an opportunity pipeline. It's a beautifully designed dashboard with live filters, which you can see here, to quickly drill down to the opportunity areas the end user wants to see. And the final use case that I wanted to highlight is forecasting. That's right, forecasting is a feature in Tableau. Tableau makes it possible to spot trends and patterns that can potentially help us optimize and fine-tune the business strategy. We'll also look at how to draw up sales forecasts just a little bit later in this module. And this dashboard that you're seeing here, we will be drawing this up as well. The Superstore leadership team has tasked us with doing analysis and designing a report that includes the sales numbers for Superstore. Now here's the challenge. They don't want to see 4 different pages of reports or 4 different Tableau worksheets. Executives and CXOs simply do not have the time or the patience to flip through pages or tabs to discern what's going on. It's simply not going to happen. This is where dashboards are going to come in handy for us. As we saw in the previous video, dashboards are a powerful way to showcase different visualizations and analysis under one umbrella. So in this particular video, we'll design our very first dashboard to help the Superstore team understand the sales numbers at an overall as well as a granular level. Now here's what I typically do before I get into Tableau to design any dashboard. I use a pen and paper to create the dashboard by hand, so I have my story down first. We'll learn more about storytelling in the next module, but for now, I strongly recommend doing this manually before you dive into Tableau. You should have a clear picture of what you want to show in the dashboard before you open up Tableau and start designing the visualizations. So for this particular dashboard, what I want to show is, I want to show the different aspects of the sales numbers. I want to show 4 things essentially in my dashboard. I want to show the sales by category. I want to show the sales numbers over time, over the 4 years that we have data for, how the sales have been doing each year comparatively. In the third visualization, I want to show the sales by state. So I'll be using the geospatial analysis that we learned earlier. And in the fourth visualization, I want to dive further in and look at sales by city. So that's basically the 4 visualizations I want for our dashboard. So let's draw those up in Tableau and let's get going. So open up Tableau. And again, we've already designed these visualizations before, so this will be a very quick process for us. The first visualization is the sales by category. So drag and drop sales to your columns, go ahead and do that. And drag and drop category to your rows. Alright, I'll just move this to an entire view to make it look better, and let's just sort it from high to low. And we'll just showcase the numbers by clicking on the label icon here. Okay. Next, we want the sales over time, but just before that, let's rename this to category sales. It's very important to name these visualizations because this will come in very handy when we are building the dashboard. All right, open up a new sheet. I'll just call this sales over time, since we want to compare the sales year on year here. All right. So what I want to do is I want you to drag sales this time to your rows. Remember, we're comparing sales over years, so this will be a line chart. Next, drop order date into your columns. I'm going to go ahead and move this to an entire view. All right, so I want a more granular level. So what I'll do is I'll just open up here, I'll open up quarter and just drop year and quarter, because I'll get a month view here. All right, we have a joined month view year on year for the sum of sales. Now, instead of changing the month format, remember what we did earlier, we changed this to the second month, this month format. I don't want to do that here. I want different line charts. I want to compare the different years. That's why I'm going to go ahead and select this and keep it this for now. All right. Because I want to compare the different years, and this will help the Superstore team understand how sales have fared each year for each month. So what do you think we should do to get those different lines here? Yes, we'll use order date again, but this time we'll drag and drop it into the colors cart. Perfect. And there you go. Now open up a third sheet. This is where we'll look at sales by state, and you'll honestly know this by heart at this point. Select sales, select state, open up show me, and just select this visualization. Perfect. Now you know what to do, right? Click on the 49 unknowns, go to edit locations, go to country region, select from field. You'll see United States is popped up behind. That's exactly what we want. Click on OK, and we have the sales by state. Perfect, right? All right, let's rename this to state sales. And finally, our fourth visualization is where our city sales will go. So again, select sales, select your city, hit show me, and click on the recommended visualization. Again, we have 530 unknowns. We've covered this before. This is because Tableau is unable to understand where the city names are coming from, because there are a lot of city names that are duplicated around the world. So let's fix that. Click on edit locations, and yet again go to country, click from field. We'll see United States is popped up. That's exactly what we want again. Click on OK, and here we have the city sales numbers. You can also just drag and drop state to your details cart to get a more better sense of the cities that are present in the United States. All right. So we're all set to create our first dashboard for Superstore. Now, instead of a new sheet, click on this icon. This will open up a new dashboard for us. We can view the 4 sheets we've just created on the left hand side here, right? And as you can see, I can see sheet 4. That means I did not name this sheet. So let's first correct that. Let's name this city sales, and that will reflect in our dashboard here. Perfect. Up here, we have different layout options. We have the default view as well as the phone view. We can also change the view we have right now. I don't like that we have only half the screen to work with, and this is basically useless for me. That's not ideal. So go ahead, click on this drop down, click on range and select automatic. Much better. Now this may seem like a minor thing, but trust me, I speak from experience. It can break your entire dashboard experience. A few years back, a personal story, I made this extensive dashboard for one of my clients and sent them the Tableau version for it. They had the Tableau reader. They completely rejected it, saying they weren't able to view half of it. As it turns out, and I'm sure you've guessed this, the default view was set to half on my Tableau version and had carried over to them. It was a nightmare. Such a small oversight, and it almost ruined the entire report. So just keep this in mind when you're working on your own dashboards. This is a very important thing. Alright, so let's get to it. Recall the dashboard that I just mentioned, the 4 views. We'll design that now. So drag and drop category sales anywhere in your dashboard here. Next, let's drag sales over time and we'll place it here. Alright. Our third visualization was state sales. Just drag and drop and put it over here. And finally, we'll drop city sales and put it over here. As your first dashboard, how does that feel? Looking pretty good, right? Just a couple of semantics that I want to cover is I don't like the way this is displayed. It's taking a lot of space and my dashboard can potentially expand and use this. So one of the great things about Tableau dashboards is we can either completely remove these controls or these legends, or we can make them floating. What do I mean by floating? Well, let's see. So let's first remove them actually. So this sales is honestly not helping my dashboard at all. It's doesn't have any particularly good information. So I'm going to go ahead and just remove it. No mercy, just remove it. This is useful as it shows the color card here. So what you can do is we can make this floating. Since it's only relevant for this particular visualization, we don't want it all the way over here. It would be helpful if we can just drag and drop it over here, right? So click on this particular control, go to more options and click on floating. Go ahead and do that. And just drag and drop it and place it wherever you want. So I'm going to go ahead and put it here. And it's mapping to this particular visualization well, right? That's exactly what we want. And let's do the same for year of order date. So click on more options and click on floating. And just drag and drop it here because it's only relevant for the year on year comparison we did for sales. And just put it, and that's perfect. The story of Superstore sales instantly jumps out at me here. And that's exactly what we want the leadership team to infer as well. Now we can make this dashboard even more dynamic. We can enhance the user experience by further handing over control of this dashboard to them. Does the concept of handing over control sound familiar? Well, it does because I'm talking about parameters and we've covered these before. We will use parameters to make this dashboard much more dynamic and more engaging for a Superstore leadership team. We'll see how to do that in the next video. Here's the dashboard we built in the previous lesson. We are showing the sales numbers for Superstore in one view for the leadership team. So far, so good. Now, the team wants us to include the profit numbers as well, but in the same dashboard. Sounds tricky? Well, this is where our knowledge of parameters will come in helpful. We will build a sales profit parameter which we can apply all across this dashboard, and the leadership team can toggle which one they want to look at. We want to make their experience as seamless and as simple as possible. So let's get to it. Open up a new sheet in your Tableau workbook. Drag and drop sales to your columns. And this time we'll use subcategories. So drag and drop them to your rows. So subcategory is not something we'll use right now in the dashboard, but just to create the parameter and to give you an idea of how to basically create these parameters and add them into a dashboard, we'll just use subcategories for that. Alright, now recall the 4 steps we covered earlier about creating a parameter. Can you remember? The first is to create a new parameter. So go ahead on this drop down next to dimensions and click on create parameter. I'm going to go ahead and name this as sales profit. Simple as that. Our data type, remember, will be string. We've done this before. And this time we'll change the allowable values to list. We've done this before again. Remember, we did it for profit, sales, discount, and quantity. This time we'll just use sales and profit. So just go ahead and type sales and profit here and we're done. Alright, so go ahead and click on OK. So a parameter, as you can see here, has been created. Perfect. The second step is to show the parameter. So go ahead and do that. Right click on this and click on show parameter control and there's a parameter. Right now, this is a dummy control. No matter what you select, it won't change the visualization. That's because we haven't linked it to the visualization yet. That is step 3. This is where we'll create a calculated field. So go ahead, click on the drop down and click on calculated field. I'm going to go ahead and name this 2-in-1 calculation because that's what we're doing, right? We want sales and profit inside one calculated field. So again, we lean on the case function here. So type case and drag and drop your parameter here, right? Now we'll use the when and then idea to get this started. So type when sales, then drop the sales variable, and when profit, then bring up the profit variable. Logic is pretty straightforward to understand. Close this with end, and once you're done, just go ahead and click on OK. Alright, and there is our calculated field. So what's step 4? That is when we apply the calculated field in our sheet. So what we'll do is we'll remove sum of sales from our columns and replace that with a 2-in-1 calculated field that we used. And that is a parameter. And when you change this to profit, you'll see the numbers changing. So we'll just sort this in descending order, and that is your parameter. Perfect. Let's apply this on our dashboard now. Let's go ahead and go to our dashboard. Actually, before we do anything, let's rename the dashboard to our sales and profit dashboard. Perfect. So how do we apply a parameter? Well, click on any visualization. I'm going to go ahead and click on category sales. Go to this button which says more options. Go to parameters and just select sales profit. And there is your sales profit dashboard. But why is it coming in the middle of the dashboard? It's not ideal, right? So it's come as a floating variable, which is perfect. And we can just move this and place it anywhere you want. And does that look okay to you? It's using up a lot of space, right? So what we can do is we can just make this floating as well. So click on more options, click on floating, and just drag and drop this and place it here. Or honestly, anywhere you want in the sheet. So just go ahead and click on sales or click on profit. It's not working. Why do you think that is? Think about it. There's one more thing we need to do before we hand this over to the Superstore leadership. We need to change the sum of sales in all our sheets to our 2-in-1 measure. Right now, remember, it's just using sum of sales everywhere. That is why it's not changing anywhere in our sheet. So go ahead and click on category sales and just drag and drop the 2-in-1 variable instead of sum of sales here. Perfect. Do the same for sales over time and 2-in-1 for in the colors cart here in our state sales dashboard. Do you think we should do that for city sales as well? Remember, the 2-in-1 measure or the calculated field has profits, and that can be negative. Right now, sum of sales is being reflected as the size of the circle here. Can profit, a negative value, be represented in size? It's not possible. So, in this sheet, we'll drag and drop our calculated field in our colors cart and just remove sum of sales here. Perfect. And that's it. Go back to the dashboard. You can toggle between the two measures, and as you can see, it reflects across the 4 visualizations. Pretty cool, right? Now, one final thing. When I go to the profit option, the name of the visualizations are still reflecting as sales. That is potentially disastrous in front of CXOs. We need to change that. So let's see how we can do that. It's actually pretty straightforward. Just click on the title name and you'll see this pop up. It is right now hard coded as the sheet name. We need to change this. So let's first remove this. Say category and go to insert. Click on parameters sales profit. That's our parameter, right? Just click OK. And you can see that it's changed to profit. And when we move it to sales, it will change to sales. Perfect. Just go ahead and do that for all our visualization. So I'm going to remove this. Let's say parameters over time. Click on OK. Do this for the sales as well. Let's say state, insert, select the parameter, click on OK. And finally, for city, say city, insert, go to parameters and click on OK. So when you toggle between sales and profit, that is how it will reflect. Perfect, right? That is how dynamic parameters make our dashboards. And that is our report, our dashboard for the Superstore leadership team. We used a lot of what we've learned before, like parameters and calculated fields, to learn to build dashboards. It's been quite a learning experience, I'm sure. So, what I want you to do is, as an exercise after this video, I have provided a different variable set for you to try and build a dashboard for the Superstore leadership team. I would encourage you to go ahead and build that dashboard because that will solidify what we've learned here. Getting the hang of dashboards. I'm sure the previous exercise will have further helped you understand the power and dynamic nature of dashboards. Now it's time to take things a step further and learn how to work with multiple dashboards in Tableau. What we'll do is we'll interlink multiple dashboards So our end user, who's a stakeholder, a client, or whoever is using our visualizations or our work, can easily navigate between these dashboards and access much more details in contrast to the dashboard that we built earlier. Now, Superstore's leadership wants to optimize its sales process, and our job is to prepare a set of dashboards in Tableau that will bring out the sales numbers per state at a more granular level. This analysis will help them optimize their sales funnel, which states are worth targeting, and which stage of the funnel needs refining. But before we get into Tableau, let's first draw the blueprint of how we want these dashboards to look. As I mentioned previously as well, it's always a good idea to first decide and draw up a plan of what we want the dashboards to look like before we get into Tableau. That makes the entire process seamless, smooth, and time efficient. Structured thinking is key. So let's see what we can do here. Our first dashboard will show the sales numbers per state. Pretty straightforward dashboard here. We have done this before as well. So we'll call this our primary dashboard. Next, we will design two visualizations, sales for subcategories, and the second is something we haven't yet done. This is about showcasing sales forecasts. Now, just a note of caution here, Tableau isn't meant for performing deep time series analysis, so the forecast that it comes up with, the simple concept of exponential smoothing. Don't worry if you haven't heard of it before, we don't need to know the formula or get into the nitty gritty here. Basically, this forecast sales chart will use trend lines to show the actual sales and the forecasted sales. Knowing this will help Superstore optimize its funnel as well as the sales strategy in the near future. Also, I want a back button in the dashboard here. That basically gets me back to the primary dashboard easily. We'll just place it up top here when we drop the dashboard. This will be a secondary dashboard. I also want a detailed report that shows me the sales numbers per state, per subcategory, and so on in a pivot like format. And this again will have a back button which takes me back to the primary dashboard. This detailed report will be quite helpful for the leadership team to deep dive into numbers that are visually designed in our dashboards. It will bring out what are the numbers behind the visualization that we've built. You'll often work on these kinds of reports in a professional capacity, where you'll be asked to bring up the numbers for a particular segment, state, product, and so on, depending on the domain you're in. That's why learning how to switch between dashboards, how to make them more dynamic and interactive, and how to go into granular details is very important. And finally, there's just one more thing. We want the communication between all these views to be two-way and not just one way. So we can go from a primary dashboard to the secondary one or the report as well, and we can go back to this primary dashboard from these two views as well. That's what we want. We want an entirely interactive dashboard view. So let's just count the number of elements that we have to design in Tableau. We have the state sales visualization, that's one. In the secondary dashboard, we have subcategory sales and forecast sales, that's 2 and 3. We also have the back button. So this will require us to create a new view, a new sheet in Tableau. So we'll count this as an element, that's 4. And finally, we want a detailed report, that's 5. So basically, we need to drop 5 elements in Tableau. This is the blueprint we finalized in the previous video for a multi-dashboard view. Let's see how to design this in Tableau. So let's head over to Tableau, and I want you to open a new instance of Tableau and just load the Superstore dataset and import the orders table like we've done plenty of times before. Right, so our first visualization is sales numbers by state, right? So we'll use a field map to showcase this. Do you remember how to do that? Just select sales, select state. I'll just do that again. Hit a round of show me and just click this field map here. Just double click on that. All right. Now remember what to do with the 49 unknowns that you get. Just click on that, go to edit locations. Here we'll just select from field. It'll automatically populate United States in the background. That's what we want. Click OK and there's our field map. Perfect. Let's rename this sheet to state sales. So go ahead and do that. Now I want you to open up a new sheet. Our secondary dashboard, remember, had two charts. The first is sales across subcategories. Again, we've done this before. So let's quickly do this. Go to sales, drag this to your columns, and subcategories, drag it to your rows. Perfect. Let's sort this from high to low. All right. Let's rename this to subcategory sales. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Perfect. Now the second chart in our secondary dashboard is one we haven't yet seen in this course. So click a new worksheet. Here we'll be drawing up a visualization that shows a sales forecast based on the actual sales values that we have. So I want you to drag and drop an instance of your order date to your columns and drop sales into your rows. Just go to entire view. All right. We want a month by month analysis. So change the format to the second month as we've seen before. Just go ahead and click on that. All right. Now let's get the trend lines into play. So this time head over to the top left of your Tableau window and you'll see a tab called Analytics. Click on that. We've been working with the Data tab so far. Now I want you to open up the Analytics tab. Right? We have a bunch of options here. What we want is we want a trend line. Right? So just click on that, hold it, and just drag it into the linear trend line. That's exactly what we want. We want to understand the linear trend across the 4 years of a Superstore dataset. So go ahead and drop it into the linear function, and there's the line. Clearly, there's been an increase in sales over the years. Good. Next, we want the forecast, the sales forecast. So again, just go back into the analytics tab and you'll see the forecast option here. So just keep holding that, click on it, keep holding that, and drop it into your forecast button. It's important to drop it here and not anywhere else because that might mess up your analysis. So don't do that. Just go ahead and click on this and drop it here. And the highlighted blue portion that we're seeing is our sales forecast. Again, I want to emphasize that this isn't any advanced analysis. This is Tableau's basic time series forecasting version, but it is helpful. And before we go on, I want you to put on your business hats again. So, watch these two trend lines. What jumps out at you? What is the first thought that comes to your mind when you see these two lines? For me, the sales forecast for the coming months, this line is quite bullish. So, given the historical data that we have for Superstore, the sales that have happened, it's quite an optimistic future if things hold the same way. This quick analysis should become second nature to you as you get familiar with Tableau. You'll be doing this a lot when you break into the industry. So let's quickly create a back button next. So open up a new sheet. Actually, before that, I'll just rename this to sales forecast. All right. All right. So open up a new sheet. We'll just call this back. This actually we'll need a calculated field for this. So let's go ahead and create it. A very simple calculated field. So go ahead, click on create calculated field. Let's just name this as back. And we only need a string option here. So let's just put it into inverted commas and just say back. That's it. That's all we need here. And click OK. Just drag and drop this into your labels cart. You need to do that for it to show up in the dashboard later. So go ahead and do that. All right. Now we ideally want this back button to tell us what action it will perform when an end user hovers over it, right? We need to know, or the end user needs to know where the back button will lead them to. Here we'll use the tooltip option to populate this. So go ahead and click on tooltip and let's just remove this and type here, click here to go back to the primary dashboard. Since that's what we want, right? We want the back button to lead back to the primary dashboard. So just do that. Click on OK and you'll see this pop up when you go to it. Perfect. Finally, we need a detailed report format. This is where I want your creative and business juices to flow. What all details do you need in the report for a granular sales analysis? Whatever you can think of, put that in. So I'll open up a new sheet for this and I'll rename it first to, let's say, detailed report. All right, let's put the order date in the columns and let's put state in rows. Right, here we have an outline of a report. Good. Let's get the subcategory in as well since we're working with those in the secondary dashboard. So let's get this right next to state. Nice. Now drag and drop your sales numbers in here. Just where you're seeing ABC, just drop your sales numbers here. Let's put in quantity and discount as well since we want a comprehensive report. Now I don't like that sales is the last column. So let's fix this. Go under your measure values here and drag sales just above discount. And I want quantity above discount as well. So do that. And as you can see, it's reflected in our report. Perfect. One last thing. I want my ears above the measures. That will make my report a lot neater. This is visual clutter basically. There's no other word for it. So let's just drag year order date before your measure names in the columns. And perfect. Looks much neater, doesn't it? Or you can go ahead and bring in more features as you see fit. I want you to do that because that's how you learn to basically create these quick fire granular reports. All right, so we are all set to create our dashboards. So go ahead and click on new dashboard here. As you can see, we have our sheets that we just created on the left hand side. First, let's fix the dashboard space. Again, I don't like this half and half version. So let's go to size and let's set it to automatic. Perfect. So remember what our first chart was? It was the sales by state. So let's just drag that in here. Let's first rename this to our primary dashboard. And I'll just make this into a floating legend because it's taking up a lot of space here and we can utilize it. So let's just click on that, click on floating, and let's just place it, let's say here, right? So we have much more space for our visualization here. Perfect. Now I want to see the state names as well here in my dashboard. This will make it easier for the leadership team to instantly recognize which state is which, right? Right now, it's not intuitively clear for somebody who's not intimately familiar with the United States map. You can't really figure out until you hover your mouse over it. It's not an ideal situation. So, how do you think we can do that? If I click on the label button here, it will show me the sales numbers per state. I need the state names. So, we'll need to make a small modification to the original visualization. And here's a quick trick for you to go back to your original sheet. And I found this quite handy when I have tons of sheets open in my Tableau workbook. I once had 25, so searching for the right one can take time. So just go here and just click on this option which says go to sheet and you'll be taken to the visualization. Perfect. Now here, drag and drop an instance of your state variable into your labels. And there you go. Pretty smooth, right? Let's go back to a primary dashboard and you can see the state names have popped up here. Exactly what we wanted. All right, let's move to our secondary dashboard. So go ahead and open up a new dashboard again. Let me fix the view first. Let's go to automatic. Perfect. So our first chart was subcategory sales. Drag and drop it in here. And next we want the sales forecast. We want it below this video. It's perfect. And again, we'll make this floating. It's taking up a lot of space that we can utilize. So just make this floating and let's just drag and drop and put it here. Perfect. Let's get our back button going now. So drag and drop this and place it here. I don't quite like how it's taking up so much space here. It's just one button and it's taking up 1/3 of my screen. Not ideal, right? So let's first remove this. Now I'll show you a trick that you'll find very handy in Tableau. So far, we've been working with tiled features. What I want you to do is go ahead and click on floating. Now drag and drop the back button and put it here. Right? Perfect. It's a floating option and it doesn't use a lot of real estate. Perfect. Now we have another problem. We have two instances of back here and what we have absolutely no use for that. So let's delete one. Let's hide the title. Just right click on this back option and click hide title. Perfect. So to turn this into a button, click on this, go to this option here, more options, click on fit and click entire view. Just go ahead and do that. And we'll just minimize this. It's way too big and whatever space we decide for it will be the button. So there is your back button and let's just place it here. Perfect. Let's first rename this to our secondary dashboard. All right, so right now we have created the skeleton of our dashboards, but we haven't exactly got them interlinked yet. I mean, if I click on the back button, it does absolutely nothing. We need to get that working. So what we'll do is we will use a feature called actions. It's exclusively made for dashboards and storyboards. So let me show you how that works. What I want basically is a two-way communication between my primary dashboard and my secondary dashboard, right? So I want, when I click on any state, I want an option here that basically tells me just go to the secondary dashboard. And in the secondary dashboard, I want to link back to my primary dashboard. That's what I want right now. So go ahead and click on primary dashboard for now. And let's deselect this. All right. Now on top of your Tableau window, you'll see an option called dashboard. Go ahead and click on that. Then go and click on actions. As it says, actions let us create interactive relationships between data, dashboard objects, other workbook sheets, and the web. So I want you to click on add action. And right now we'll use the filter option. You can go ahead and try out the other options after this video and just see how they work. But for now, what we'll use is we'll use a filter option. Just go ahead and click on that. Right. So let's name this cleverly because this is what the end user will see. So we can't just put a nonsense name here. We need to name it sensibly. Let's say click here to go to the secondary dashboard. Right, this is what will show up and will be clickable for the end user. So in the source sheet, we want the primary dashboard. That's perfect. And the target sheet will of course be the secondary dashboard. Right, this is where it'll take us. We don't want the back button to be linked. So let's just unclick that and leave everything else as is. And hit a round of OK. Hit OK again. And just go ahead and click on this. So here, as you can see, we have the click here to go to the secondary dashboard option. Go ahead and click on that. And this basically shows the sales for that particular state. So let me go back to my primary dashboard. Let's try something that we know has a lot of data. Let's say California. And as you can see, these are the subcategory sales for California along with the sales forecast. So the actual data and the forecasted sales are here. You can see there's a slightly more bullish forecast for California. So let's see New York now. Let's see how the forecast is for that. And again, it's pretty bullish if the trends hold that have been happening for the last 4 years. There's a bullish forecast for sale. That's pretty good. That's useful insight for the Superstore data leadership team. Now, there might be some states that do not have a forecast at all, right? Like we saw for, let's say, let me pick up Wyoming. Let's see if we have a forecast. We don't have a forecast because, as the tooltip here says, there are way too many missing values. There's just not enough data, and that will happen for a few more states that are not they don't have a lot of sales data here, and that's good because we don't want a fake forecast coming in, right? Or a forecast that's basically wrong. That's not what we want, right? So now we've linked the primary dashboard to the secondary dashboard. Let's go ahead and make the back button dynamic. So go ahead and click on dashboard again on top of your Tableau window and click on actions. Now again click on add action and go to filter. So let's just rename this simply to back. And our source sheet is indeed secondary dashboard. So I don't want the sales forecast and the subcategory sales to be linked. I just want the back button to be dynamic. So unclick these. And our target sheet is of course the primary dashboard. It only has the state sales visualization. So that's fine. This time run the action on select, not the menu, right? Select this time and click on OK. Click another round of OK. And when you click on back here, it'll take you back to the primary dashboard. Perfect. So we have now created our dynamic and interlinked dashboards. And these you'll be working with a lot in the industry. Finally, let's create another dashboard. Remember, we still have the detailed report to get in. So click on new dashboard and just first, actually, I'll just change the view to automatic and just drag and drop your detailed report in here. And let's just maximize this so that it shows up in our entire screen. Perfect. Right. So again, click. We want the back button here as well. So let's click on that. Let's drag and drop it here. You know what to do at this point. Hide the title. We have the back. Let's make the button dynamic. Let's reduce the size of the button as well here so that it's more easily visible. Click on it and let's link this back to the primary dashboard as well. So go to dashboard, click on actions, go to add action, go to filter. Let's again call this back from report. Our source sheet is dashboard 3. I should rename this. We'll do that in a bit. Unclick this since we only want the back button to be dynamic. And we want this to go back to the primary dashboard. Go to select and you're done. Click on OK. Click another round of OK. And actually, I'll just change the name here to detailed report. All right, since it exists, we'll just call this a detailed report dashboard and click on back and we are back here. But remember, we just have a couple of things more to go. We need to connect the primary dashboard to the detailed report dashboard as well. So you know how to do that at this point. Click on dashboard on top of your Tableau window, go to actions, click on add action, click on filter. Let's call this click here to go to the detailed report. Again, we want state sales, so we'll let the menu remain. In the target sheet, we want the detailed report dashboard. We just want the detailed report to be linked. Everything is fine. Click on OK. Click another round of OK. And let's see for Texas this time. Let's go to the detailed report. And as you can see, the numbers have changed here. These are only reflecting for Texas. There's just one final thing I want you to know. Right now, when I click on, let's say, any state, when I go to the detailed report or to the secondary dashboard, it's not telling me the state name, right? It's just saying subcategory sales, sales forecast. So anybody who clicks on this, analyzes this, it might not know which state that's working for, right? It's not an ideal situation. So we need to make a small tweak to get this working, to get the state variable here. Can you figure out what it is? Take a second, pause the video. You know enough at this point to know how to get the state variable reflecting in the title, because when I click on this, it's hard coded as sheet name. And if I just put the state variable here, it won't show the state name. It'll just say state in those brackets. So what do you think we should do? Think about it. I'll just remove this from here for now. What we need to do is basically go back to this sheet and we need to put the state variable in the detail cart. Let's head back to our primary dashboard, secondary dashboard. Click on this. Now let's try. Let's see if this works. Click on OK. And as you can see, the state name has popped up. So all we need to do is for each visualization and a dashboard, we'll have to put whatever state we want, or whatever variable we want into the detail cart. So let's go to the sales forecast one, drag and drop state into your detail cart and head back to your secondary dashboard. Just click on title and just put the state variable and in the brackets. Click on OK and we have the sales for Texas. Right, so when I click on Wyoming and go to the secondary dashboard, it'll show Wyoming here. And when I, let's say, go to Kentucky, click on the secondary report, it'll show Kentucky. And you can do the same for the detailed report dashboard as well. Pretty cool, right? So let me just go ahead and unclick this, unselect this. All right. And this is how you can work dynamically with multiple dashboards in the industry. Trust me, I'll repeat this again. You will be working on these kinds of reports and dashboards a lot. So I encourage you to practice this as much as you can by picking up datasets from datahack.analyticsvidya.com and just diving into Tableau.